Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Springstroh of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Rohloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on GovTV for your City Manager's Report. This is your source for all of the latest and greatest updates and things that are happening here in Oshkosh that you might want to know about relating to the city, as well as a preview of the upcoming Common Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Springstroh, joined as always by our City Manager, Mark Rohloff. Mark, welcome.
Great to be here, Emily.
It's always great to have you, and we're going to go ahead and get right into the first half of the show here, talk about some hot topics. We'll take a little break, and then we'll return with a review of the meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 12th, 2019. So, Mark, the first thing that we kind of want to kick off the show with is a weather update. We have had a crazy couple of weeks here in Oshkosh weather-wise, wouldn't you say?
About every form of bad winter weather you can imagine, whether it's snow or extreme cold or ice, we've had it all in the last couple of weeks.
Truly, and it has definitely put a lot of work on our city staff in a lot of different departments too. So first off, we wanted to kind of give a little bit of a kudos and a thank you to those departments.
Of course, our Public Works Department, which includes the folks everybody recognizes who plow the streets, but also our utility folks. You know, we get a main break, they're out there and it's frigid cold. And of course, our public safety, police and fire, as well as our transit. I got a wonderful story from somebody who talked about how our transit driver made a point of making sure that someone got home from a medical appointment, and they took great care, and the person who got them out to the door saw the care and compassion that our folks had. We didn't have a lot of people riding the bus during this storm, but the reality is the people who needed that service were provided the service, and it's a great tribute to our folks that they weren't just going through the motions. They were serving people throughout the whole day.
What a cool story. Yes, zero closures by GO Transit, so we're really thankful for that. But yeah, we're grateful to the public also for doing their part and helping keep us safe as well, clearing those sidewalks and driveway aprons, things like that. So we also want to give a little reminder to people that there are sometimes a few little things get forgotten in the snow clearing.
Yeah, and we're asking for your help in these things, and one of them, especially when things start to melt, and they will melt eventually, everybody, but the storm inlets, Mother Nature will find a way to melt itself, but if you can clear a storm inlet, you're going to help move things a lot quicker, especially if it were to freeze up at night. If you can get it draining quicker, that's a good way to do it. I know it works very well. I do it myself. Fire hydrants, I don't have a fire hydrant over by my house on my property, but certainly if you can clear around the fire hydrant, God forbid we have something like that, but we want to make sure that they're accessible, and that just would make, if there was a fire situation, it would make it that much quicker for our fire folks to access those if they're not having to clean them out.
It's so important, yes. And then on Facebook, we saw a few comments bouncing around about the sidewalk aprons, the ramps that you see on the corners of sidewalks and at street crossings too.
Right. Our code does require that as part of you cleaning out your sidewalk, that if you live on a corner, you're also supposed to take care of the ramp. But you think about why we're asking you to do it as well. These are for individuals who are handicapped or slightly disabled, that are challenging with a walk. It's not for young people. They can bound around and everything, but think about the people who are using those ramps, and it's very necessary for them. So if it's required, but if you can just get the ramp going, not necessarily the whole corner, but the ramp would really be helpful.
Definitely. So yes, thanks again for keeping up with the snow clearing. And we've got a couple more days of some interesting weather ahead of us here too. So we want to remind people that if they are looking for updates on closures or updates on snow plowing and snow clearing issues, make sure you follow Oshkosh Media on Facebook, because we're going to put all the updates on there. And then, of course, if you're looking for updates from library, museum, just make sure you've got all your likes and follows in place on Facebook. And everybody's doing a great job of keeping everyone updated on the status of their department. So moving down from the weather, I know we've talked about that enough. We're going to move down to the Oshkosh Public Museum, their new exhibit, it's called Dress to Play, opens on February 17th. And this is going to be a really cool one. It's a great segue from the winter weather one, too.
We want to forget about the winter as quickly as possible, and the museum's already on it. Yes. It's about summer fun, and that's part of this amusing exhibition. It illustrates summertime festivities that people have enjoyed throughout the years. And it's going to talk about how clothing styles have changed over the decades and historical photos to just give you a flavor of what things were like back in, I guess, the good old days or something like that.
Yes, and it's much different. We were talking with an employee over at the museum, and she described you're going to see a lot of differences between how people dress for going to the fair or going to a baseball game back then compared to today, for sure. So it'll be a really cool exhibit. That runs through May 19th. If you're looking for more information about that, just check out the website, oshkoshmuseum.org, and we're really looking forward to seeing that one, especially with the winter weather that we've been dealing with.
It'll help get rid of the winter doldrums if you want to do that.
Definitely. But in the meantime, we can still have a lot of fun at the Oshkosh Senior Center, too, during this winter weather. We can get comfy and enjoy a free movie and meet some mascots over there, too.
Oshkosh Senior Center is trying to attract not just seniors, but families to come over to the Senior Center and enjoy the great atmosphere that we have over there. So Mascots and Movies is the event. It's going to be on February 23rd, which is a Friday. Wear your PJs, bring your favorite blanket, your beanbag chair. Just get comfortable, get cozy. There'll be little mascots there. I guess we can't say the name of the movie.
Yes.
We can just say your favorite basketball movie featuring Looney Tunes characters. So
I think you can figure out
Think of Bugs Bunny and some other great 90s basketball players, and you'll get an idea.
Yes, really looking forward to this one. Like you said, comfy clothes are encouraged, and it's just a lot of fun for the whole family with the meet and greet of the mascots. I think there's going to be some crafts and, of course, concessions available. So
come early to meet the mascots at 5:30, and the movie starts at 6:30. So you'll have a great time, and certainly encourage people to attend.
Really fun series. And of course, check out Facebook if you're interested in more information or any changes that might take place with that. Moving down our list of hot topics, Mark, the spring primary election is right around the corner. That's coming up on February 19th, but if you're not available on that day, early voting is currently open too.
It's already open, so swing by City Hall if you think you're not going to be around that day, or if it's just more convenient for you to do it. And that's for the February 19th primary. There's also the general election on April 2nd. There'll be early voting for that at a later time, and you'll hear more about that. But we want to make sure that people are aware of primary election for the mayor race. That's the only race on the ballot, but that doesn't mean it's not important. That means there's just one office open for you to consider. And then the council and I believe state Supreme Court will also be on the April ballot. But February 19th is the date to shoot for.
It's still very important. Yes, we encourage everybody to get out there and vote. Check out the clerk's office's website or give them a call if you've got questions about how to vote and what you need for that. Continuing on with our winter fun episode here, Mark, we wanted to kind of give a little preview and a teaser for some videos that we've been working on here at Oshkosh Media. The guys got to go out with the Oshkosh Fire Department and have some fun with the ice boat and learn a little bit about how the ice rescues happen on Lake Winnebago. So we had a lot of fun with that.
You know, we all hope that you will never need this service, but when that service is necessary, it's absolutely essential. And so the training that our folks go through, and the ice boat is really an amazing piece of equipment, but it has a purpose. And so the On Fire episode really talks about the operational side of it, and then of course the heavy metal segment really gets into the guts of the unit itself. And it's pretty cool, but it's pretty cool for a reason.
Exactly, yes. Like I said, fun to see how it works, but hopefully you don't ever have to be rescued by it, but it's there if you need it. And yeah, like you said, the heavy metal is really interesting to find out how the machine itself works, how much it weighs, and how it's operated. So really looking forward to debuting the heavy metal segment at the council meeting at the end of the council meeting on February 12th. So great video, a lot of fun, and be sure to tune in for that. Moving down, we want to give one more reminder, well, not one more, but continue to remind the public about the state of the city. We really encourage you to come out Monday, March 18th at 6 p.m. out at the Oshkosh Convention Center. A great chance to learn a little bit more about what the city's been up to, some projects that we have coming up, and then, of course, Mark, you will be giving your annual address. Yeah, and it's really just an idea about what we're looking at for 2019. If you haven't gone to it, I absolutely encourage you. It's a very upbeat event, and you're meeting the departments both before
and after my address really gives you a flavor of things that are going on. We're going to be, seeking input, for example, on what to do with the balance of Lakeshore Park. And that'll really be part of the kickoff for that. And then just getting your input on all sorts of other things that are going on in Oshkosh, and looking ahead to some great things, and taking advantage of the fact that we've gotten some great accomplishments in there, and how we want to keep them going.
Definitely. Great opportunity to be a part of your community. So once more, Monday, March 18th, 6 p.m., Oshkosh Convention Center. So now it's that time of the show here on City Manager's Report, where viewers have the opportunity to ask the city manager anything they want about things that are happening right here in Oshkosh. So let's see what the question is this week. All right, so the question, Mark, is why did I get a request from a city assessor asking me to walk through a house I just bought? This one came from Facebook.
Well, this is a process that is laid out in state statutes that when a house changes hands, it really helps to make sure, confirm that the assessment on the property that already exists matches the current information we have in order for us to use that assessment to determine value. And the state tries to create something comparable so that when other properties are getting revalued, they take a look at most recent sales. So it's an opportunity to, from a really a quality control standpoint, to make sure that we're up on what latest changes might be going on. I've used examples with you about different things, whether things, not everything requires a building permit. We certainly want to confirm that certain things have been done properly, but a lot of things don't require a building permit. And when that's not the case, we want to make sure that we may match up with everything. Things may have gone down or up, but it's just confirming what's out there. Mostly
making sure that the records are consistent, right? So making sure that the condition of the house at the time of sale is consistent with the records that the city currently has.
Right, because if they're not, then we need to make sure that that's in sync with one another.
Right.
Because we don't get into every property, so this is just a way to, like I said, from a quality control standpoint, make sure that we are keeping track of things.
For sure. And I mean, there's a lot of detail in this item too. And so if you do have further questions, feel free to reach out to the assessor's department as well. They're happy to answer any questions. And there's a lot of things going around out there of people posing as city workers too. So never be afraid to ask to call City Hall and confirm that this person is legit too.
Yeah, they should be providing you an ID. Every city employee has an ID. And if they don't, they should have it. And you got every right to say no to that person. And like you said, call. If they say they're with a certain department, call that department directly and find out if that person should even be there in the first place. So, and of course, if you have any doubt, you can always call the police department, and we'll be happy to help you with that.
Yes. So excellent question this week. That one was spotted on Facebook, like I said. If you do have a question for Mark that you'd like him to answer on the show, send it to us on Twitter, post it to our Oshkosh Media Facebook wall, or go ahead and email it to us at questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. So we're going to take a quick break here, and when we return, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Common Council meeting agenda highlights for the meeting taking place on February 12th. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm City Manager Mark Rohloff. The 2019 State of the City event will take place on Monday, March 18th at the Oshkosh Convention Center, and I'd like to invite you to join us. Doors open at 6 p.m. and the address begins at 6:30. Following the presentation, we will honor community members and groups who help support our city. The night concludes with the City Exhibit Expo, where you can interact with city staff about current projects and opportunities to make Oshkosh a great place to live, work, and visit. Please join us for the State of the City at the Oshkosh Convention Center on Monday, March 18th. We hope to see you there.
This winter, pay attention, go slow, and stay in control while driving on Wisconsin roadways.
Welcome back to City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from the Common Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 12th, 2019. Mark, the first thing that we want to talk about here on the agenda is a presentation taking place. It's titled The Aviation Plaza Redevelopment. So why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about this and what's being looked at for redevelopment?
Right now, there are two individuals that have expressed an interest in going to the site. One of them actually we're going to discuss later on in the agenda, and of course another one, people have heard about this probably for a number of years, is the Mineshaft restaurant in Hartford is a big sort of restaurant entertainment type of complex, and they've looked at going there as well. But whether it's these uses or any use, there are some significant barriers to development there that people don't necessarily realize, but it kind of tells you why the development hasn't been taking place over there. Specifically, as Highway 41 was expanded to Interstate 41, the Department of Transportation purchased right-of-way, which took out a stormwater pond that was over there, and that was just one of the first of many things. Over the years, different regulations are in place now for stormwater that currently are not being met here. And also there are new regulations with the Public Service Commission regarding water service. There's actually only one water service that goes into the entire complex there, and there actually has to be one for each individual building. And that's so that if somebody doesn't pay their bill, that we don't cut off the wrong people. People paying their bills ought to be able to keep getting water, and so part of that is a regulation that the Public Service Commission has. Those are barriers to development, and so whether it's these things that I just described to you or something else down the road, we're going to have these challenges out there. In general, I have not been real supportive of the need to do a TIF along the 41 corridor unless it's something very unique. And things of this nature generally aren't very unique. But the question is do we need to address those development hurdles that are there? Because that is as big a hurdle or big a impediment to having development out there. So it's more about what infrastructure is out there. The folks that are there are going to talk about the financial aspects of it and why they may be seeking some type of TIF assistance. But if it is, I suspect it'll be very limited because it's not a matter of providing some development incentive, because development incentives really aren't appropriate here. Mm-hmm. It's really more about addressing infrastructure.
Okay, and this topic has kind of been talked about over the past few years, right? As people are wondering what's going to be happening in that area. Yeah,
I mean that whole issue with the Mineshaft restaurant has been going on for a number of years. They own the property. Mm-hmm. At one point, there was going to be talk of selling it to a Walmart corporation for a Sam's Club. That didn't go through, but the development hurdles that are out there are probably as big an issue. We're also looking at getting some rezoning issues done with the county because of its proximity to the airport. Mm-hmm. That's another impediment to development out there. But we really need to address all of these issues if we're going to have good, high-quality development out there.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to a lot of really great information in this presentation and looking to move forward with the projects as well. Moving down under public hearing, we have the approval for the final resolution for special assessments for everything, basically, for Oregon Street. Now, are we changing the special assessment policy on this item? I know that's going to be the first question a lot of people will ask.
That is clearly the biggest question right now, but let me talk about the project first.
Sure.
The project is phase 2 of our project to redo Oregon Street and get a new sewer, sanitary sewer interceptor there. That's the big pipe you see in this picture right here. That is really the impetus for this whole project. And we need to get it all the way down to Ripple Road over a 5-year period. So this is year 2 of that. And you can see that once it's all done, it looks very nice, and we're very pleased and proud of the work that's getting done. But the special assessments are clearly the biggest question being asked. You may recall at the last council meeting, council gave staff direction to begin the process to amend the special assessment policy with a possible funding source for that with a transportation utility type of fee. There are a lot of logistics with that. We're still working through it. So the idea here is that council we're recommending the council still adopt the resolution for really 2 reasons. One, we got to get working on this project. Secondly, the special assessments for utilities are not proposed to be changed at all. So the notices that people receive talk about the street assessment, but also the utility assessment. The utility assessment is going to remain regardless of what council does with the policy. It appears as though council is leaning towards changing the policy, and that may make the whole issue of the street assessments moot, but we have an obligation to inform everybody, and we want to do that before the work starts. But I suspect, as you said, that there'll be people asking about the change in the policy, and that'll be coming before council later on. But we got to get the process started so we can get construction underway this spring.
Right, especially for a project of this size. So more to come on the special assessment stuff, I guess you could say.
Yeah, once it's back on the agenda, we'll be talking a great deal about it.
All right. Moving down under consent, we've got the approval for a change order for the Sawdust District improvements. So what little area are we looking at for this item?
This is really the final touches on what was going on. You may recall about a year ago, I was pretty hot and heavy about the fact that we were getting really held back by Canadian National Railroad, and we had to get a lot of work done that they were not giving us access to go under the tracks at 14th Avenue. We've got those issues addressed. The work is all done, and now we have the scope of work that we actually had to do. We had to do a lot of compliance issues with the railroad, and this was not in the original budget because we weren't necessarily anticipating doing things like looping the utilities and getting all this done. But as the project was getting developed, we really realized it. So now that all the numbers have been settled out, we need a change order to formally authorize the final payment for everything.
Excellent. Moving down, we've got the approval for a purchase from Apollo Video Technology for 6 replacement bus video surveillance systems. This is for the transit department, and really this is kind of just a safety update for our buses.
It's pretty common nowadays for municipal transit systems to have a video surveillance system, and that's to protect both the passengers, the drivers, and the general public. Should we have an accident or some type of incident on the bus, we have video evidence that will identify what was going on. So it's, like I said, it's very common in bus systems nowadays, and the new buses we're purchasing, the video equipment's already on. So these are the older buses that aren't quite ready to go to the junkyard yet. So we'll get those video surveillance systems on all of our buses for safety purposes.
Wonderful. Moving down our agenda, we've got the approval for a state municipal agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. This is for the rehabilitation of the Highway 21, otherwise known as Oshkosh Avenue Bridge. And this is going to be a pretty big project and a pretty significant closure.
It's only a maintenance issue, but it's a long maintenance issue. So it's going to be just the bridge itself, where Oshkosh Avenue and Congress Avenue come together. There's a little bit of work that's going to be done primarily on the east side of Congress Avenue. If you drive over there, you'll notice a little bump when you get off the bridge, and that's our responsibility. It's only about $45,000. So the agreement with the Department of Transportation is for us to agree to reimburse them when they do that work. They're going to do it as part of the project just because it'll be easier. But the big issue is, like you said, the bridge will likely be closed for as long as 6 months. It'll be open come navigation time in May, but it still probably won't be open for vehicular traffic until probably June of 20. So it's probably going to be January into June of 2020 while this project is going to take us out of commission.
Yes, so we want to make sure people are aware of that. Obviously, this won't be happening until early 2020, you were saying, so we do have some time to mentally prepare for this as well.
We'll be reminding people on a regular basis as it gets closer.
And really quickly, this has nothing to do with the intersection over beyond the bridge, right?
No intersection work. It's just coincidental that they're doing this work while we're talking about the intersection. The intersection, we don't have any immediate plans for that. Stay tuned, though.
Excellent. We've got a laid-over ordinance that we're going to be looking at. That's the amending of the room tax ordinance. So tell us a little bit about what this is about.
Well, there were a couple issues at the last council meeting, but the room tax ordinance needs to get amended because the state changed some laws about how we can collect delinquent room taxes and things like that. Plus, the law doesn't currently provide for us to do things like collect from Airbnbs and things like that. Those types of operations weren't anticipated when our ordinance was written. So those are really the issues that this is about.
Okay, and then we always have the question is that what about the other changes with short-term rentals? That was something that has been talked about quite a bit in the last few weeks.
Yes, it is, and we had that item laid over at the last meeting, and we're continuing to work with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and EAA because we are really unique in Wisconsin with EAA, and we're so happy to have them here. And we know that part of our culture is being a good host to EAA guests. But this short-term rental thing is really, in conflict with what we do when we open our doors, literally, to guests from throughout the world. So we still need a little work on that. The EAA and I have met recently, and we agreed that we may need to go back to the state because the state law was written without Oshkosh in mind. Mm-hmm. And I always say I don't like when the state does a one-size-fits-all law. This definitely is one of these cases. But it's too important for Oshkosh and EAA. We need to make sure that if we're going to have a short-term rental regulation, that they work for our purposes. And so we're going to hold off on getting it implemented for a while, and we'll probably bring it back for a deferred implementation period. But stay tuned for the next meeting. We'll probably be discussing it fairly soon.
Yes, I know a lot of people are eager to hear about that, and we look forward to some good discussion on this item at the council meeting. Under new resolutions, we've got the approval of the general development. This is for auto sales and service facilities in storage at 2175 and 2185 through 2185 South Keller Street. Big building.
This is Aviation Plaza, the
yes.
old J.C. Penney building. So this is one of the ones which we talked about earlier, but this is the, it's called Extreme Auto, that they do customized refurbishing of vehicles and things like that. So this is what they're proposing there. So you can see that there's, this has not been a site that's been used in recent years because of all the challenges I mentioned. So we're excited to see this possibility, and we're going to bring it to council for their consideration.
Wonderful. Moving down, we've got a workshop coming up on February 13th at room 404 in City Hall. This is a couple different presentations, one for Parks facilities and one for City Hall. Right.
There are actually two different facilities. The Parks facility is in pretty old, rough shape, and we took a look at a couple options, and the council will look at those different option approaches and what they think might be the best thing to do. These are one of these projects we're going to have to look at long term about how we fund it, but this is really taking a look at what two basic options, either building a brand new building or refurbishing the existing building with a pretty heavy dose of rehabilitation.
Definitely.
And then the second one is the council had asked that we take a look at City Hall and what can be done in terms of meeting our future needs, meeting space, office space, as well as addressing the fact that this is an old high school and it wasn't designed initially to be an office building, and there's a lot of issues of non-compliance. The minute we start tweaking with this building, it's going to trigger a bunch of other regulations, and it's going to be costly. So we want to take a look at what our options are, and we've got some facility needs for the next 30 years that we've taken a look at, and we're going to be reporting to council on that. So two separate facilities, two separate studies, and hopefully get some good feedback from council as we move forward.
Yes, and Oshkosh Media will be covering this as well. So be sure to tune in on our website or on GovTV, all of our different ways that you can see us here. Once more, February 13th, Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. So with that, we are just about out of time here on City Manager's Report, Mark. So once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us today.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Again, the council meeting is this Tuesday. That's on February 12th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on GovTV and on our website, oshkoshmedia.org, or you can listen to it on 101.9 Oshkosh FM, which is also online, and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure you like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or be sure to check out our YouTube channel for all of our government meeting replays and past episodes of some of your favorite programs. And as always, don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Rohloff, go ahead and send it to us on social media or give it to us via email, and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. So with that, we'd like to thank you once again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.